Chapter 11. Take-off, Flight of Fright, An Unlikely Acquaintance. Devon took in the scene of the small ship as everyone began to file into it one by one. He noticed that Kaya and Ree had changed into some sort of official dignitary uniforms, which looked more like dark-coloured dress robes than anything. Wanda, on the other hand, was wearing her little hiking outfit that she had on when they first met. Devon frowned, tugging at the shirt he wore. Although he did do his laundry yesterday, he was a little uncomfortable as the clothes he had on were the only ones he had. It would have been nice to have something formal to wear, this being his first trip to an alien world. But Devon kept that to himself, as he wondered that, along with the change of scenery, would also come a change of clothes. Wanda disappeared through the doorway, leaving Devon the last to enter the ship. The insides reminded him of some sort of workstation from a mechanic's garage. There were all sorts of tools and parts hanging on the walls above a large work table, which sat at the far end of the compartment. A doorway led to the right of it as the three women entered it to stow away their belongings. The door on the left led to the cockpit, or so Devon assumed. Kaya appeared from the storage door, her face brightening upon his presence. "Are you ready?" "I think so," he said, looking around. "I didn't come with much, just a carry-on." Kaya giggled as he flashed his sword, which was now sheathed in a makeshift scabbard made from random household parts. "Smart-ass," muttered Wanda from the doorway. "Get back here and put that stick away already." Devon playfully flinched from the harsh words before heading to the back of the ship. Wanda emerged from the doorway with a sigh. "I tell you, men and their swords." "Yes," said Kaya, her eyes focusing on a distant thought. Wanda observed her with caution. "And just what are you thinking about?" Kaya balked at the words as her cheeks began to glow with a tinge of red. "Oh, nothing," she replied. "Of all people," chided Wanda, "you'd be the last one I would have expected to fall for an earthling." Kaya fell back, showing signs of shock. "What do you mean?" she retorted. "I'm not falling for anyone. What are you talking about?" Wanda replied with her famous smirk. "Don't think I don't notice the way you look at him when he's around." Kaya tried to look surprised. "I never," she replied. "You never what?" asked Devon as he emerged through the doorway. Wanda watched the two, trying to contain her amusement. "I never," stammered Kaya. "I never got to show you the cockpit now, did I?" Grabbing Devon by the arm, Kaya led him away. She noticed the amusing glare from Wanda as they walked by. Devon, of course, was oblivious. Wanda watched them disappear into the cockpit. It appeared he was in good hands, to say the least, but it did leave her to wonder. Shrugging her shoulders, Wanda went back to the storage room, hopeful that she could find a comfortable spot to catch a nap along the way. Devon gazed about the small cockpit. There may have been a time, maybe even a few minutes ago, when he might have stood in wonder of what he saw. But his dreaded attention was drawn to the pilot's seat as their rescuer robot was slumped over the control panel. A small plume of smoke began to fizzle out of one of its metallic ear holes. "What the hell?" Kaya exclaimed. She ran up to the robot, but stopped short of doing much else as she could tell it was out of commission. Kaya quickly turned to Devon. "I'll go get Wanda," he said, disappearing out the door. Kaya began searching the cockpit for clues. Just as her eyes lifted, she noticed there was a hole in the shielded window. She glanced back at the robot. There was a matching hole in the centre of its metal head as well. Kaya gasped as instinct told her to duck down out of sight. Carefully, she made her way back to mid-cabin, trying to piece together what had happened. Ree was looking around the tool area, clueless to the sudden danger. "Ree, close the door!" yelled Kaya. Ree nodded as she turned and punched the button. The ramp began to rise. Movement caught Kaya's attention out the hatchway over toward the house. Large, green-skinned creatures ran out the back door. their attention now fixated on the ship before them. Kaya gulped. A sense of terror fell over her. She could not believe what she saw. The creatures appeared to be more reptilian than anything, but walked upright like humans. Their short, thickened tails swayed to their movement, which stopped as they approached the hatch. But that wasn't what scared her the most. Each one appeared as if it had been dead and rotting for a very long time. Their flesh was discoloured, greying in spots, some areas showing hollows exposing muscles, bones and organs. It was like something that Ree would watch on television late at night, leaving Kaya to stay up with her in case she got too scared. But this was real, and they were just outside the door. The last thing Kaya saw before the hatch closed were the creatures raising their weapons. Just then, Wanda came staggering out of the back, with Devon following behind. "What's the problem?" Wanda asked in annoyance. Her eyes were half closed, looking as if she had been asleep. "We're under attack!" cried Kaya. Just as she spoke, several loud thumps hit the hatchway. The four of them watched as light orange marks began to appear on the inside. They were being shot at. "Oh, crap!" exclaimed Wanda. "Kaya, pilot the ship. I'll see what I can do with this equipment here." "You need to fix the front viewport," warned Kaya. "It's got a hole in it." Wanda groaned. "What kind of piece of junk is this?" exclaimed Wanda. "Get this thing going. We won't need to worry about it until we clear the atmosphere." Kaya nodded as she grabbed Devon. "Come on, I need your help," she told him. The two disappeared into the cockpit, leaving Wanda to contemplate their situation. "Oh, great," she huffed, rummaging through the useless items in the tool drawers. The pounding of blaster fire continued to hit the side of the ship, not making her ability to think any easier. "Oh, Wanda, make them go away," cried Ree. Wanda searched around for her voice. Dipping down, she saw Ree's legs sticking out from underneath the workbench. "Hey, Ree, give me a hand over here, would ya?" asked Wanda. Ree's face popped out as her expression changed from hysterical to relief in a second, as she was happy to take her attention away from the attack. Kaya pushed the incapacitated robot out of the way and began pressing a few buttons on the console, all while ducking behind the pilot seat. Devon took cover behind the co-pilot seat. The ship's engines began to whine as the cockpit shuttered with the sudden activation. After pressing a few more buttons, Kaya grabbed for the controls. "Hold on!" she warned while trying to maneuver the ship. It lifted off the ground, tipping a bit, but still maintaining its climb. Devon watched, impressed by her ability to pilot the ship from her position. The scene outside the windows turned pure blue as he could see a few white clouds off in the distance. They were well off the ground. "I think we're okay now," he told her. Kaya nodded as she hopped into the seat without losing the ship's balance. Releasing the wings, the ship began to lurch ahead toward the distant mountains. The wind suddenly began to whistle through the hole in the window. Kaya could barely keep an eye on where they were going as the rush of air was hitting her in the face. "We're all right for now," said Devon, playing navigator for her. "Nothing's in our way." Kaya nodded, appreciating his help. The door behind them opened up as Wanda and Ree filed through, their arms full of materials and tools. Without hesitation, they went straight to work on the window's hole. "I'll handle this," Wanda told Ree. "You know what to do." Ree nodded as she took a stance behind Kaya. "Sorry about this," warned Ree as she threw a towel around Kaya's face, bracing it to keep her from moving. Kaya screamed. "Ree, what the hell are you doing?" she exclaimed. "I can't see a thing." Ree nodded over to Wanda as she began to pour blue, transparent goop over the hole. It dribbled down, trying to cover the hole through the force of the wind. Chunks of the liquid gel blew back from the hole, hitting Kaya where her face would have been had it not been protected by the towel. Devon began to chuckle, realising the method to their madness. "Just try not to wiggle around too much now," warned Ree. "It'll only make it worse." Kaya gritted her teeth, knowing full well what was happening. For a brief moment, she wished it was she who had been shot in the head instead of the robot. Wanda tried not to laugh too much as the hole was finally sealed. The cabin grew calm without the rushing wind blowing through as the air pressure returned to normal. "Impressive," said Devon. "Pretty good stuff." Wanda shook the bottle. "Yeah, I'm surprised they actually have decent repair items back there," she replied. "This is all great, you know," growled Kaya, her last nerve being tempted. "But can someone please take this stupid towel off of my head?" Ree gave her a funny look, as she had forgotten what she was doing to her cousin. "Oh, sorry," she replied. Removing the towel, Ree tried to throw it into the corner, but it would not leave her hands. She tried to shake the towel off. It remained attached to her hands. "Hey, what's going on? Wanda!" she exclaimed, trying to pry her hands away. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Wanda replied. "Better come with me. I think there's something in the back that can help." Ree nodded, still trying to figure out how her hands became glued to the towel, which was now covered in hard goop. The two exited, leaving Devon and Kaya alone. "That was close," muttered Devon. Kaya shook her head, blowing out a sigh of frustration. "I don't like it when I'm the brunt of the punishment around here," she breathed. Devon chuckled again, although he knew he probably shouldn't. "I take it that wasn't the first time?" Kaya forced a smile. "Just another chapter in my pathetic life with Ree," she replied. Devon laughed to himself this time. It was amusing, but not bad, to him at least. He made it a note to ask her sometime of the other brunts of punishment she had gone through. Something told him he would enjoy it. The ship lurched up at a steep angle toward the edge of the atmosphere above. Kaya began pushing buttons as she prepped the ship to depart the atmosphere. Devon checked out the panels in front of him. The mass of lights, buttons and switches stared back at him. The complexity of their nature reminded him of an airplane cockpit, of which he was fairly familiar with, but these were more advanced than any small plane he ever flew. He perused the controls, wiggling his fingers in anticipation. "Anything I can do over here?" Kaya perked up as she looked over to his side. "You can start by retracting the landing gear with that lever over there," she suggested. Devon followed her aim as he threw the lever back. There was a low grumble from below their feet, followed by a click. Devon wiggled his fingers again, feeling the need to keep learning more about the ship. "Cool," he replied. "What else?" Kaya laughed as she glanced around for a second. "I think we're good for now," she replied. "I'll need your help for the jump to hyperspace once we leave the system." Devon was giddy, just waiting to do something. "Right on," he said. The door behind them opened and closed as Wanda entered, breathing a sigh of relief. Devon was almost afraid to ask, but felt compelled to anyway. "So, where's Ree?" "I told her not to pull on that stuff," she replied with a grin. "Don't worry, I put her out for the rest of the trip." Devon cringed as he turned to face forward. He pointed his attention out the side window, trying to take his mind off the chaos around him. The blue sky started to dissipate, revealing the deep blackness of outer space. Devon had already seen this before, but only in a dream. It was fascinating seeing it in real life, making it a much more genuine experience. Wanda approached his side, watching him admire the scene unfolding before them. "I can barely remember the first time I entered space," she told him. "Pretty thrilling experience for the first 5 minutes or so, extremely boring after that. Maybe I should get you one of Ree's books to pass the rest of the time." Devon shook his head. "I don't think that'll be necessary," he told her. "I just love it." Wanda looked at the stars as she could not believe she was going home. But something else began to prey on her mind.
So did anyone get a good look at who attacked us?
Devin shook his head. Kaya turned away, trying to form a picture of what she had seen. I have no idea who they were, she confessed, but I saw them. They looked kind of like the Antorians, except more reptilian and with green, scaly skin. But, she hesitated, I don't know. They also looked as if they had been decomposing, or even dead, but they weren't. They were moving around. I just don't understand it. Devon thought about it for a second, his eyes beginning to grow in wild amazement. Like zombies? Wanda shrugged. That would be a fair assessment, she replied. Normally, undead creatures wouldn't retain intelligence, but these ones apparently have, according to what you've said. She looked down to the robot on the ground. Pretty damn good shots, too, if you ask me. Devon sat back in thought. Undead soldiers? From space, even? That just did not seem very probable. But then again, this whole adventure of his was no more probable either. How is that even possible? Wanda tilted her head to him, her eyes slanting. Do you always have to ask the hard questions? She replied in annoyance. Only myths and legends. When we reach the school, I'll be able to show you just what it is we're dealing with. Kaya threw a surprised look back at her. You mean you know? Why not tell us now? Wanda sighed. She was getting tired of the questions, and after not getting much sleep last night, she was reaching her limit. 2 reasons, she replied as patiently as she could. 1, I can't quite remember how the legend went, but I'm almost willing to bet that whatever attacked us last night and just now might be related. 2nd, and most important of all, is that I am too freaking tired to even remember my own name, let alone something I read in a cheesy textbook over 200 years ago. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to catch up on some sleep. And without another word, she turned around and headed out the door. Devin turned to Kaya, who was looking back at him equally as shocked. Did she say 200 years? He asked her. Kaya nodded, but even she could not believe it. I think so, she replied, as the sudden disclosure of information hit her confusion square on. Wanda was older, but did not look it, at least not 200 years anyway. Just how old is she? Kaya shook her head. She had no idea, nor did she know just what Wanda's true purpose was. A thought occurred to Devin. He bit his lower lip, trying to suppress a smile. Wanda was right. After about 10 minutes or so into the flight, he was bored. He began some idle conversations with Kaya, most of which led back to the conclusion that she did not like Earth that much. It was hard for Devin to think of other topics, since that was the only basis for his experience with life. They had shared some insight with each other. Devin found her life very fascinating, although Kaya would have disagreed had he told her so. But he still tried to engage in some form of conversation, knowing that it was his weakness when it came to talking to women he did not know. It's not as if he did not like talking to them, he just found it difficult. He remembered being the exact same way as a child, seeing a girl he liked, and trying to talk to her was like climbing the tallest mountain one could find. But, like a fool who knew what he was getting into, he kept on trying anyway. So, you lost your mum when you were a child as well? Kaya's eyes dimmed, her face softening before finishing her flight check. Yes, she replied. It's not something I like to talk about, but it seems as if you may be the only one who understands what that's like. Yeah, he said. It seems as if my life turned on its ear when I lost her. But you have a father, right? Kaya turned away. When it's convenient for him, yes, she firmly replied. I was mostly raised by interns and housekeepers. My father was never around, only during special occasions, as he liked to call them, and they were only on his time, never when I needed him. So, I guess, like you, I didn't have much of a family. Kaya glanced over at him, trying to think of things to talk about other than family. So, you're a pilot in your world too? Devin raised his eyebrows. I wouldn't go so far as to say pilot, he replied. I've taken a few courses and have gone on a few solo flights. Nothing like this, though. Kaya glanced casually at him. Once it's in your blood, you can never forget. Look at me. It's been a few years since I've flown anything. But like they say, once you learn to ride a bipedal, you can never forget. Devin grinned at her alternate name for a bicycle. I would love to learn more, he said. Once we get to Alterra, I'll show you how to fly a real ship, not this hunk of junk. That would be nice. The cockpit grew quiet. Devin began to reflect on their conversation, knowing why she had changed the topic from family. He began to wonder about his own. Devin did have a good family, but did not feel compelled to tell her just yet. His aunt and cousins were his family. His life would not have been a fraction of what it was had it not been for them. Yet no matter how much attention they gave him, no matter what values in life were taught, they still could not replace that irreplaceable feeling of not having any parents at all. Devin sat back, glancing at the person next to him. He liked Kaya. She was the most normal out of the three women here. Even so, there was something missing with her. That ultimate connection he had been looking for. It seemed like forever since Devin had been searching for that one thing in someone who could spark the flame inside of him. A flame thought to have died out long ago. It was a matter of great importance to Devin, a matter that his cousins had tried to help him with on several occasions. He smiled, wondering what Janice was up to right now. Devin's younger cousin was a fireball of knowledge and life. At least, that was the persona she tried to show off to everyone. At least everyone who did not know her as well as he did. Then there was Sean, his counterpart. Sean was more like a brother than a cousin. He and Devin were inseparable in their younger years, playing football together, forming a band together, even just hanging out and playing video games. They were always buddies. Until she came along. The one thing that drives the spike between the closest friendships is a lover. Sean found his. Devin did not. Devin could sense as if life was moving on, leaving him behind. Janice was following in her mother's footsteps, being groomed to run the studios one day. Devin was not. He was caught in a self-propelled whirlwind of trying to find his place among those who may not have even noticed he wasn't with them anymore, leaving him to wonder if they even missed him at all. Devin glanced back over at Kaya again as his mind returned to the present. His first contemplation was, what is wrong with me? She apparently liked him, that much he could tell. But then again, he had been through this same scenario many times before. He wanted to just come out and ask her, I know you like me, and we're going to date a while, then you'll leave me. Why do you think that is? But that seemed to be a little too straightforward. There was just something deep inside of him, something that he could not explain. It did not allow him to make that connection he needed, or at least thought he needed, to have a successful relationship. It was the damnedest thing. Devin made it a mental note to ask Wanda about it, although something told him that he would have to fight it out with her just to get a positive response. Devin grinned. There was something about her that intrigued him. Her saucy, witty sarcasm entertained him a lot. She was starting to feel like the older sister he never had. Never in his life had he ever met someone quite like her before. It appeared that every time they got into trouble, she was there to help, whether she wanted to or not. It wasn't her strongest quality, but she was pretty good at getting them out of a bind, which gave him more of a reason to understand why he was sent to find her. Devin thoughts turned to the woman from his dreams. All his life, he would never have imagined someone so beautiful, so graceful. Desperation began to tear at him as he wanted to see her again, but the one dream was all that they shared. Just to know her name, to know who she was and where she came from, were the questions he desired to ask. Moreover, why she had picked him to do something of which he had no idea what. "And why in the hell did she send me to find her?" he asked aloud, his thoughts ringing throughout the cockpit. "Find who?" asked Kaya. Devon looked over at her, momentarily forgetting where he was. "Oh, nothing," he replied, embarrassed. "Just thinking out loud." Kaya giggled, but before she could reply, the whole cockpit began to shudder. Devon could feel the chair shake from underneath him as the rumbling almost shook the ship out of its casing.
"What the hell was that?"
The cockpit settled back down, leaving Devon dazed by what had happened. Kaya sat equally stunned as she quickly looked over the controls. "I have no idea," she replied. Just then, a loud beeping noise came from the console next to Devon. He stared at it, trying to figure out what it meant, as the red light captivated his attention. Kaya, this red thingy over here is blinking." She glanced over at it as her mind began putting the pieces together. "That's the proximity alarm," she replied. "They must have followed us." Kaya turned to look out the viewport. Several green-hued fighters flashed past the window. There was a rumbling noise as the ship shook once again. They were hit. Another red light flashed, this time bigger and louder than before. Devon tried to find something he could read that would be helpful. One of the small monitors off to the side showed a framed outline of the ship, as some of the parts were blinking in red. "Whoa!" gasped Devon. "They got us pretty good that time." Another hit shook the ship as Kaya gritted her teeth. "Try not to be too optimistic about it," she told him. "Hang on!" Trying to maneuver the ship was like trying to steer a sled down an icy hill. Despite her best efforts, the enemy fighters began to easily realign themselves for another strike. Kaya grabbed for the headset off to the side as she tried to radio for help before the next attack. Altera Patrol, safety craft under attack, unknown hostiles, we need help, Sector AZ-4A3, she yelled into the headset. Devon looked over his console again. There had to be something that he could do. Partway down the console, something caught his eye. Devon tried to say something to Kaya, but she was too busy flying and yelling at the same time. There was no time to ask. He had to do it. Devon pressed the intriguing button. There was a lifting noise from the back of the ship as a small screen before him lit up, showing a view from the top. 2 long barrels were pointing away from the screen. Green lights began to flash on the side menu as Devon grabbed at the controls in front of him. With each turn of the controls, the barrels on the screen responded to his movement. "All right, let's see if a few years of flight simulator training has paid off," he muttered to himself. Pulling the trigger, jets of red lights shot out into space before them. A few caught the wing of one of the fighters as it spun out of control. The remaining ships pulled away to regroup outside of their weapons range. Kaya gawked. Her bewilderment could not have been more visible. "Where did you find that?" she shouted. "You don't think an intergalactic repo bot would travel throughout the galaxy unprotected, would you?" he returned, shaking his head. Devon fired some more, but the enemy fighters were adapting to his counterattack. They steered clear from the top, diverting their attention to the bottom of the ship. "Damn, they figured out our weak spot," scowled Devon. "I'm surprised it lasted that long," answered Kaya, instantly regretting it as she did. After all, he did buy them some time. She made it a point to thank him later, if they were still alive. Another blast shook the little ship. The engines began to sputter. "Oh no!" gasped Kaya as she started throwing switches and pushing levers. Nothing else was working. They were losing power. "The guns are dead too," confirmed Devon. "Nothing." He pushed the controls away in disgust as their impending doom was starting to become more apparent. An arc of bright green fire whizzed past their sight as an explosion flashed to the right. But it wasn't from them. A buzzing noise began emanating from the headset as Kaya instantly transferred it to loudspeaker.
Altera Control, this is Alpha Squad. We've engaged the enemy, said the voice.
Kaya gasped. She knew that voice. Devon turned to look as the ships flashed across the viewports. There were 5 of them, long, sleek, white ships flying in formation. They were smaller than the tow ship, with many long points sticking out of their narrowed bows. The points glowed, sending another barrage of fire at the scattering green ships. 2 exploded. The last 2 turned about, preparing to retreat. The white ships veered around in space, poised to intercept them.
Shall we pursue? Asked one of the wingmen.
Negative, replied the leader. Let them bang their heads together in someone else's sector. Area is secure. The group split up and took an escort pattern around the tow ship. Devon turned to look at the fighter next to him. He could just make out the pilot's silhouette behind the darkened cockpit. It was a marvellous sight.
Tow ship, we will escort you back to Altera, hangar 717, said the leader.
Kaya picked up the headset.
Thank you, Alpha Leader. Holding position, she replied, her voice low and unappreciative. It's good to hear your voice too, Kaya, added the pilot.
Kaya's body quivered. She was not expecting that from him.
Devon watched her, his concern growing at her lack of acceptance toward their would-be saviours.
You know this guy? Kaya just stared ahead. Her mind was elsewhere at the moment. Devon searched around, grabbing the headset next to him.
Alpha Leader, we appreciate your...
Who the hell is this? Replied the leader. I don't remember asking you a damn thing. Devon drew back in mild shock.
My name is Dev...
I don't care what your name is, interrupted the leader again. You will speak when spoken to, rookie. Got that?
Devon rolled his eyes in disbelief. Was this guy for real? Kaya turned to Devon.
It's all right, she replied. I know how to handle him.
You do? You know who this jerk is?
Kaya smiled, although it faded quickly. She did know him, and that was what hurt the worst.
His name is Brom, she told Devon. He's my ex-boyfriend.
Devon's head jerked back, his eyes wide in shock.
But after a few moments of letting it sink in, it all started to make sense.
Well, if you have any problems, I'll be here for you, he told her.
Kaya smiled again, this time with a little more effort.
Thanks, I'll remember that, she told him.
She put the microphone back to her lips. Thank you, Brom. We'll follow on a 210 course. There was a short silence. That's a Roger, tow ship, replied Brom. This jerk will get you back home safely. The intercom went silent. Devon looked down at the headset in his lap. The active light was still on. He switched it off and threw the headset to the side.
He heard, didn't he?
Kaya let out a small laugh.
Yes, well, he might treat you with a little more respect this time, she told him.
Kaya flipped a few more switches as the engines hummed once more to her relief. They still had enough to get them back home, and right now that was all she cared about. The door behind them opened and closed. A tremendous yawn roared throughout the cabin as Devon turned his head to see a sleepy-eyed Wanda.
Are we there yet?
She asked, rubbing her eyes, trying to focus on what was going on. Man, I had the weirdest dream. Devon's chest tightened. Of all the times he chose to be worried during this little excursion, now was definitely it.